Fillojmë këtë mbledhje të Komisionit të Veprimtarive Prodhuese të Tregtisë dhe Mjedisit. Sikurse jeni njoftuar, sot kemi një aktivitet të veçantë. Kemi këtu në mesin ton zotin Artur Lorkovski, që drejton Sekretariatin e Energjisë me bazë në Vjetor, që sigurisht me të cilin neve kemi pasur një marrëdhënie shumë të ngushtë. Është e disa ta herë që në traditën e këtij komisioni zoti Lorkovski prezanton raportin vjetor për Shqipërinë dhe besoj që kjo traditë do të vazhdojë edhe në të ardhmen. Është e vërtet që pjesa më e madhe jona ndoshta nuk do të jenë në legjislaturën e ardhshme, po besoj që jemi krenar për punën që kemi bërë këto 4 vjet, për bashkëpunimin që kemi pasur jo vetëm me Sekretariatin e Energjisë, po edhe me Bashkimin Evropian, për agendën e Shqipërisë, qoftë në drejtim të çështjeve të energjisë, të çështjeve të mjedisit dhe të ambientit, dhe besoj që kemi bërë një punë mjaft të mirë që materializohet edhe në raportin që paraqitet sot. Sigurisht këto nuk janë çështje që mund të zgjidhen kaq lehtë, kërkojnë përpjekje të vazhdueshme dhe besoj që edhe kolegët tanë të legjislaturës së ardhshme do t'i vazhdojnë këto përpjekje, sepse rruga e Shqipërisë është vetëm një, rruga drejt Bashkimit Evropian, dhe sigurisht çështjet e energjisë dhe të klimës për Bashkimin Evropian ngelen esenciale dhe përjedhoj do të jenë të tilla edhe për ne. Më lejoni të kujtoj që kemi bërë përparime të ndjeshme në aspektin legjislativ për sa i përket energjisë, për sa i përket eficiencës së energjisë, për sa i përket të gjithë kontributit që ne kemi dhënë në energjinë e rinovueshme, po edhe në aspektet e tjera të mjedisit, kujtoj disa ligje të rëndësishme për çështjen e përmirësimit të mjedisit. Kemi aprovuar disa ligje të cilat do të hynë në fuqi mbas disa vitesh, por për cilat ne këtu kemi dhënë një kontribut dhe kemi punuar gjerësisht për t'i përshtatur ato me legjislacionin e Bashkimit Evropian. Kemi akoma përpara nesh edhe disa ligje të rëndësishme që besoj do t'i aprovojmë brenda kësaj legjislature. Më lejoni t'ju kujtoj që jemi në diskutime për ligjin për përgjegjësinë e zgjeruar të prodhuesve, që sigurisht ndikon në mënyrë të drejtë për drejtë në çështjen e mbledhjes dhe ripërpunimit të mbetjeve, po edhe një ligj po aq të rëndësishëm që është ai për biokarburantet, që besoj edhe atë do ta kemi në diskutim në muajt në vazhdim. Kështu që jam krenar për të gjithë punën që kemi bërë të gjithë bashkë, për rezultatet që kemi arritur, dhe jam besim plot që dhe kolegët tanë që do të vazhdojnë këtë detyrë në të ardhmen, do të ecin në të njëjtën rrugë, ndoshta me ritme dhe më të shpejta, sepse edhe vetë koha e antarësimit të Shqipërisë në Bashkimin Evropian premton që ritmet duhet të jenë më të larta. Dhe për të bërë një prezantim të raportit, për të mos humbur kohë, po ja kaloj fjalën zotit Lorkovski, dhe pastaj nëse dikush nga kolegët do të ketë ndonjë pyetje apo një diskutim, është i mirë pritur. Zoti Lorkovski, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the committee, it is my great pleasure and honor that you decided to have me on the last day of the activities of the Parliament in this legislative tenure. It is indeed a very good opportunity to summarize all of the progress which has been achieved so far, but also to leave kind of testimony for those who will come to this table and those who will be working on the energy future of Albania, the future which I hope will be very closely integrated with the European Union market. Before going into the details of the presentation, which I, by the way, want to not to do so much, I would rather preferred to enter into dialogue with you. So I would hope to have plenty of questions and also comments on that, both on the achievements and the plans. Let me say that we have just observed and we have just experienced for the couple of years, the years where you have been serving to this committee, unprecedented energy crisis in Europe. And I think one lesson is properly learned from that experience, is that sticking together and being in the group and going through the crisis as an integrated market is much better strategy than going through this crisis alone. This is the first point. The second point is I think that Albania is in a good company in that sense that on the one hand you have a very good perspective of being integrated with the EU energy market, but on the other hand you are also in a good company of the countries of the energy community which are surrounding Albania, and they are following the same pathway. So this good company is also the factor which I believe is incentivizing further cooperation both regionally and with the European Union. And the third element is that this is a big achievement for the last period, is that you have great support for doing all of these reforms. The new instrument established by the European Union, the growth plan and the reform agenda is offering almost €1 billion for Albania for the investments, including the investments in the energy sector. And those investments, combined with the reforms, are expected to bring Albania further on the pathway on the integration with the EU, and ultimately Albania to become member state of the European Union. So we had the experience of crisis, which we went through. We have the experience of cooperation, which is very good, and we have now the support for that. So I believe there are all of the ingredients to make the energy a success story for Albania. Let's have now a very short look at the progress, specific progress, which was made in 2024 in your country, with your support and with your engagement. I will present this report in 5 pillars, starting with market and integration, and lately commenting on the performance of the authorities. But for me, it's also important that I will clarify some issues which are still ahead of us. But if we would look at the snapshot, at the very general picture in Albania, I would like basically to make some, I would say, 3 basic comments, and to focus on 3 basic achievements, which are, I believe, the most important in 2024. First of all, we have observed a further establishment and integration of the electricity market. So, by the fact that the Alpex company has previously established the day-ahead market and then the intraday market, that they have coupled this market with Kosovo, is a big achievement. And there, of course, there are some issues we have to discuss when it comes to liquidity of this market, how this market can be further coupled with the European Union markets. Nevertheless, we have a very important part of the homework done in Albania, and this is something you can be really proud of. The second achievement I want to very shortly emphasize from the very beginning, from the outset of my presentation, is the issue of the development of renewables. By setting the proper legislative framework, but organizing the auctions, a proper legislative framework has been provided to the investors, which are about to provide Albania with respective support for the development of the solar capacities in your country, and this is something which also is very much putting Albania at the lead of the countries of the energy community. And the third element I want to emphasize is the fact that Albania has established already in 2021 the proper framework for programming and for managing and governing this transition. And this progress in this regard is to be expected in years to come by the adoption of the new version, of the updated version of the National Energy and Climate Plan. And we hope that Albania remains on the path towards further decarbonization, not of the electricity generation sector, because there is no issue in this regard, but other sectors in line with the well-established plan for years to come. When it comes, however, to the assessment of the implementation performance, Albania is exactly in the middle of the process of transposing and implementing the commitments you have already made under the treaty. So the half of the job is done. So this is the credits go to the Commission and to the Parliament, of course, to the government. But still, there is a space for the second half to be provided in years to come. And I hope that that would be something we can focus together, and that we will continue our cooperation in years to come. When it comes to the implementation and those elements, I want to emphasize this is what I have already mentioned. You have already established the domestic electricity markets, but what is still ahead of us is the integration of those electricity markets with the markets of the European Union. This process we call market coupling, and for that proper legislation is needed. The adoption of the transposition of the electricity integration package for Albania is still pending. So this is on the to-do list for the next Parliament, for the next Commission, but I hope that it will be achieved as soon as possible, and that would allow your electricity markets to be fully integrated with the neighboring markets of the European Union and the countries of the energy community, so that more stability to pricing and more liquidity can be provided. The second issue is, of course, the issue which is related very closely to that is the issue of interconnectivity with the countries of the region. And for doing that, we still are awaiting Albania to transpose the 10E regulation, so that the regulation which is governing how the trans-European electricity networks should be developed. And this is particularly important because we see on the horizon some electricity projects which are now on the list of the projects of the high priority for the energy community, but without having the proper legislative framework in the country, we cannot expect those projects to be properly supported, including with the money, so financially, by the European Union. So this is in your best interest the transposition process of this piece of legislation is very much expected. You mentioned, Aben, in your introductory speech, the issue of biofuels. This would require. This is something which is really commended. However, it would require also development on the proper legislation when it comes to the environmental standards for biofuel, biomass, so that you can introduce the more biofuels and biomass into your energy mix, while at the same time you are protecting your environment and you are preventing your forests, for example, to be taken and to be burned in the future. And this is extremely important that this balanced approach is being provided. Finally, I want to also emphasize the need for moving forward when it comes to the very basic elements for the carbon pricing. Carbon pricing discussion is ongoing at the ministerial level now in the Energy Committee, but there is one commitment which has been already made by the countries, which is the issue of establishing the system for monitoring, reporting and verification, and the proper legislation in this regard is also expected to be delivered soon. When we turn to the market integration, when we can turn to the electricity sector, which is foremostly critical for Albania, with Albania's perspective of becoming the real player in the electricity market regionally and in cooperation with the European Union, I would like again to emphasize the existence of the wholesale market and the fact that the wholesale market is being properly developed in line with the strategy set several years ago. This is very much encouraging, and the Secretariat is very much in line with this approach. However, we also see that there is a certain level of regulation which is on the wholesale market, and that there is a limited liquidity on this market. And we need to approach that issue by offering some deregulating measures, some of them which are still stemming from the time of crisis, and to have a debate and a discussion with the authorities, with the Regulatory Commission, how those measures could be phased out gradually in order to create more space for the organized market, to deliver more predictability for the market participants, but also for the future investors, those who will be investing in renewables. And those investors will benefit very much, and the country will benefit very much, because it would make simply the investments in the cost of investments in renewables lower. This is the subject of the discussion, and we will be having this discussion with the government definitely. However, the new element and the additional element on top of that is the issue of the retail market. We observed during the crisis and very recently the measures taken by the regulatory authority aiming at protection and empowerment of the retail market participants. We see that there is a proper definition of the vulnerable customers, and we expect further that there will be proper measures on one hand which will be leading to opening this market for more competition, but on the other hand, based on the definition of the vulnerable customers, we expect that the support schemes will be further developed so that the support could be more specific, the support could be delineated to those who really are in need of this support. As I mentioned before, those markets still require to be integrated regionally. We have already observed integration with Kosovo electricity market. However, there is still a space for growing and for providing more integration both regionally through market coupling with North Macedonia and Greece in the first step, and the Secretariat is very much engaged in that process. And the second step with the whole European Union through the market coupling. However, I want to make it also very clear that the delay in the adoption of the electricity integration package which we have observed will be also delaying the date of the full market coupling with the European Union. The first go-live window for that is the first quarter 2027, provided that Albania will ensure the full transposition of the electricity package. It seems that it would be very difficult because of the elections and because of the fact that the Parliament will be posing the activities. However, we hope that this work can be resumed very soon so that we, together with government, can work on the draft law which will be delivered to Parliament for the adoption, and then Albania can join the market coupling project, the project which is providing the accelerated integration with the European Union ahead of the day of accession as soon as possible. The gas market, the realities is still not existing in Albania. However, Albania remains a reliable partner when it comes to the transit of the gas, and we could observe during the reporting period some discussions and some progress on the potential future LNG and the storage system in Albania. This is still to be confirmed, and this is still something which is in making, and we will be very much expecting more clarity in this regard in the new under the new legislative period. When it comes to the decarbonization agenda, there is a full setup of the regulations Albania has already committed to with the governance regulation, which I want to mention from the outset of that point. And what we need, however, Albania, as I mentioned before, is pioneering or has been pioneering the preparation and the adoption of the first draft of the National Energy and Climate Plan. The revised version is to come, but still we need the climate legislation to be put in place. And you might remember 2022, there was the agreement on the targets for 2030, so that those targets can be properly defined for the countries, and it is still expected that those countries will be translated into the legislation of Albania, the domestic legislation of Albania, and we hope that it will be also the challenge to be taken by the new Parliament. I mentioned already that the Energy Committee now is discussing the carbon pricing model for the energy community. This is very much the development which is expected to be aligned with your enlargement and with your accession agenda. The European Commission presented the study which is explaining the available options for the carbon pricing, starting from business as usual scenario and going through some intermediate options and ending with the option of joining EU ETS as it is now. We are expecting the contracting parties to give us what are the preferred options, what is the carbon pricing you want to include in your domestic legislative system, but and we expect that based on this feedback, we can expect the decision of ministers during the Ministerial Council in July 2025 on what will be the option for the Energy Committee, and then we want this discussion to be taken to the legislative decision to be adopted in December 2025. For whatever will be the option of the carbon pricing, we need the system for measuring, reporting and verifying the emissions which are generated in the country, and for that to happen in Albania, we need the proper framework, proper legal framework. And this is the framework which has not been yet adopted for Albania, and we expect this also to be taken by the new parliament. When it comes to the energy efficiency, we have already very much engaged in cooperation with the ministry on drafting the legislation for energy efficiency purpose. This is one of the requirements for Albania for the disbursement of money from the growth plan, and this process, I hope, can be also concluded very fast. What is also very much promising that Albania has already set up the system for the certification of the performance of the buildings, which is also the starting point for providing the further financial support for the energy efficiency measures to be taken. But this is also very much dependent on the progress, because it is expected that this project this program will be financed from the European Union growth plan. As I mentioned already, the MRV sector, you can see also in our presentation in the report more details about that. Some elements on C2 have been already developed, so we have certain teams who are working with that. We have also observed some progress when it comes to the appointment of the proper institution. However, again, still legislation and the legislative framework is needed so that we can move on that with the full speed, and Albania should be ready for establishing this system in the foreseeable future. Energy security is the next point of my presentation, and when it comes to the security in the electricity sector, there is still the need for transposing the risk preparedness regulation with a very basic expectation that the competent authority will be properly appointed. We also, when it comes to the oil sector, we have observed progress in the establishing the system in line with the in the energy community law in the previous periods. However, very recently, it seemed to us, and according to our assessment, there was no significant progress during 2024, which is still also on the to-do list. When it comes to the environmental part of that, I would focus on some elements related to the environmental assessment. We observed the improvement of the legislation when it comes to the environmental impact assessment, which is a very good prognostic for further streamlining the environmental impact assessment procedures in the country. We also observed that Albania amended the strategic environmental assessment procedures, and this is extremely important for the proper strategic assessment of the national energy and climate plan. We observed progress in improving the quality of fuels because Albania has put into effect the provisions of the Sulfur Directive into motion, and this is something which also is very much commended by the Secretariat. The Liability Environmental Directive, also we observed progress, and I also want to recognize this development. However, we believe that some secondary legislation would need still to be developed, and this will be the subject of our cooperation with the Environmental Ministry here in Tirana. When it comes to the performance of authorities, I always want to, as it was also last year, I want to express my gratitude for the Albanian Regulatory Agency for close cooperation with the Secretariat. We observed quite efficient work of this institution during the crisis. We also see important role of this institution when it comes to the implementing the framework of so-called REMIT, so the legislation which is needed for improving the transparency and the monitoring over the energy markets, in particular when it comes to electricity. However, let me point that there is a need for further development and enhancing the capacities of this institution, both legally and in terms of the administrative capacity, due to the expected roles this institution is about to resume after the adoption of the electricity package. So I want to very much draw your attention to the need of further equipping the regulatory authority with competences to make this authority fully operational for the cooperation regionally and with the regulatory authorities of the European Union, so that this institution can perform its duties under the framework of full integration with the European Union electricity markets. To summarize our discussion, I want to once again re-emphasize the importance of the adoption of the electricity integration package. This is the piece of legislation which is still with government. We already observed the delay. This legislation was due by the end of 2023. We are now approaching mid-2025, and still this is on the to-do list. However, we hope that today's discussion with the Ministry and with respective institutions would allow us to make the next step and to enter into the consultation phase. And this is definitely one of the first priorities in my assessment for the new Parliament, so that Albania can join the market coupling with the European Union as soon as possible. But we know now that will not happen before first quarter 2027 for sure. I'm not so sure whether it will be possible before first quarter 2028, exactly due to this delay observed during the reporting period. The second issue is the issue which will have the impact on the functioning of the electricity markets. Will have an impact on improving the liquidity of these markets and the volumes being traded is the issue of the price regulation in the wholesale and retail markets. And we expect this process to be further addressed by the regulatory authorities and by the governments, and we expect that this would need to be continued in the orderly manner, so that on one hand the market signals could be stronger in Albania, but on the other hand the vulnerable customers can be properly protected from the excess increases of the prices in the future. We also want Albania to profit very much from the financial support for the cross-border infrastructure. That's why adoption of the legislation related to the TEN-E, Trans-European Energy Networks, is the necessity for that. We also want Albania to be market-coupled, as I mentioned, in the first step with Greece, Kosovo and North Macedonia, and this is something which we should prioritize really together. And we want also climate agenda to be adopted, both when it comes to the translation of the target from the energy community frame into the domestic legislation, but also when it comes to the development of the MRV system in the country. We would be very much encouraging the progress when it comes to the oil stock directive compliance, but also when it comes to the compliance with the environmental standards for biofuels, bioliquids and biomass, so that the further rollout of the renewables in the country can be done in the environmentally responsible way. As I mentioned, we also very much welcome and we will be supporting regulatory authority in further progress when it comes to the market coupling and how the competences needed for that will be further developed. And we also very much be asking Parliament to consider enhancing the administrative capacities of the regulatory authority in order to be able to deliver on those obligations they will be set up in the electricity package for this institution in years to come. Let me stop here after this presentation. Let me again express my gratitude for not only for the direct discussion with the committee, but also for your involvement and chairman particularly of the parliamentary plenum of the energy community, and I hope we will be continuing this cooperation in the new setup after the election. Thank you very much.
Faleminderit zoti Lorkovski për prezantimin që I bët raportit vjetor të Sekretariatit Komunitetit të Energjisë për Shqipërinë për vitin 2024. Personalisht e çmoj si inkurajimin që na dhat, po edhe vërejtjet për implementim të mëtejshëm edhe për shtyre të mëtejshme në mënyrë të veçantë për zbatimin e detyrimeve që kemi marrë përsipër. Që besoj që ky bashkëpunim do të vazhdojë me ritme ndoshta edhe më të larta, po dikush nga kolegët nëse ka diçka për të thënë, për të pyetur. Jo. Atëherë më lejoni kolegë që të bëj një përmbledhje të shkurtër të asaj çka përfaqëson raporti, po edhe të punës 4 vjeçare që ne gjithë bashkë kemi bërë këtu për të pasur apo pra se na ka takuar për të qenë pjesë e këtij raporti dhe këtij bashkëpunimi. Në radhë parë, falenderoj të gjithë Sekretariatin e Komunitetit të Energjisë për të bashkëpunim të shkëlqyer që kemi pasur, në mënyrë të veçantë vitin e kaluar kur ne kishim dhe presidencën. Falenderoj ju, zoti Lorkovski, falenderoj zotin Jasimi, si një përfaqësues i shkëlqyer i Shqipërisë në Sekretariat, dhe që jo vetëm ne si komision, po edhe komisionet përpara nesh, dhe besoj dhe ato i do vinë mbas nesh, do vazhdoj t'i mbështesi. Se kam bërë ndonjëherë, po dua ta bëj këtë radhë, meqense është mbledhja e fundit e përbashkët, duhet të falenderoj edhe Gjildën për gjithë ndihmën që ka dhënë në bashkëpunimin e këtij komisioni me Sekretariatin e Energjisë. Sikurse ju e theksuat, ne kemi goxha punë për të bërë në lidhje me paketën e tretë të energjisë, paketën e integrimit të energjisë, dhe sigurisht e çmoj shumë edhe punën që duhet bërë si në tregun me shumicë të energjisë, ashtu dhe në tregun me pakicë. Janë bërë hapa konkrete në lidhje me diversifikimin e aktorëve në këtë treg, por kemi akoma shumë për të bërë. Sigurisht e vlerësojmë dhe ne kemi dhënë kontributin tonë në lidhje me bursën e energjisë, me Apexin, po ajo nuk është akoma e plotë, kështu që puna aty duhet vazhdoj. Ndërkohë që po ashtu kemi dhënë një mbështetje të gjitha projekteve që kanë të bëjnë me interkoneksionin, dhe shpresoj që ky proces të vazhdoj edhe në të ardhmen, duke i kushtuar vëmendje si për mbylljes së interkoneksionit me Maqedoninë e Veriut, po ndoshta edhe mundësisë që krijohet për një interkoneksion në New York me Italinë. Paketa e zgjerimit, po edhe financimet tjera të Bashkimit Evropian janë elemente të rëndësishme që mund të ndihmojnë në këto aspekte. Dhe të thënë të gjitha këto, besoj që komisioni i ardhshëm për 4 vitet që vijnë do ketë detyra edhe më konkrete, edhe më specifike, po ndoshta edhe me intensitet më të lartë, sepse realisht jemi në një moment historik për Shqipërinë, kur rruga për të qenë antar të Bashkimit Evropian apo dritarja për të hyrë në Bashkimin Evropian është e hapur. Mbështetja e të gjitha organeve drejtuese të Bashkimit Evropian nuk po mungon. Që shikoj me shumë kërshëri që ndërsa përgatisim të gjithë frameworkun, pra të gjithë kornizën legjislative për të qenë antar të Bashkimit Evropian, duhet të intensifikojmë akoma më shumë bashkëpunimin me Sekretariatin e Komunitetit të Energjisë për hapat konkret që duhet të hedhim në disa çështje që janë mjaft të rëndësishme, si ato të energjisë edhe ato të ambientit. Edhe një herë tjetër zoti Lorkovski, kënaqësi që ju kishim këtu, gjithmonë kënaqësi kur ju kemi në Shqipëri, dhe besoj që do të vazhdoni edhe në të ardhmen të jeni pjesë e bashkëpunimit dhe diskutimeve me Komisionin e Veprimtaritë Prodhuese, Tregtisë dhe Mjedisit. Duke ju uruar një punë të mbarë sot në Shqipëri dhe qëndrim të këndshëm, po e mbyllim këtu këtë mbledhje komisioni për të dëgjuar mbas zgjedhjeve. Faleminderit edhe një herë.